Edgar Hansen was once one of the most familiar and beloved faces on Deadliest Catch. Known for his steady hands, calm demeanor, and long years of experience aboard the Northwestern, he earned the respect of both his crew and viewers. For more than a decade, fans watched Edgar face the brutal dangers of the Bering Sea alongside his brother, Captain Sig Hansen. His quiet strength, technical skill, and sense of humor made him stand out among the cast. But when Edgar suddenly disappeared from the show, fans were left wondering what had happened to him. After years of silence, Edgar Hansen finally spoke out at 64, confirming what many had long suspected. For those unfamiliar with him, Edgar Hansen was one of the hard-working fishermen featured on the hit reality series Deadliest Catch. He served as both deck boss and chief engineer on the Northwestern, one of the most respected crab boats in the fleet. His role wasn't easy. He managed the deck crew, repaired equipment, and kept the boat's systems running during the long, icy, and dangerous crab seasons in the Bering Sea. Born into a family deeply rooted in fishing traditions, Edgar and his older brother Sig continued the legacy of their Norwegian ancestors, who had made a living from the ocean for generations. From a young age, Edgar proved himself capable of handling the physical and mental demands of life at sea, quickly earning a reputation as a man of quiet discipline and dependability. On Deadliest Catch, Edgar was admired for his calm and steady approach to challenges, his strong work ethic, and his dry sense of humor. He wasn't always the center of the show's drama, but he was the glue that kept the crew together and the ship running efficiently. Viewers loved him because he came across as genuine, a hard-working man who didn't seek attention and stayed loyal to his family and crew. Even with fame knocking on his door, Edgar preferred to focus on the job rather than the spotlight. Over time, he became one of the most respected figures on the show, often seen as the quiet heart of the Northwestern. Born on January 14, 1971, in Seattle, Washington, Edgar Hansen grew up as the youngest of three brothers in a family where fishing wasn't just an occupation, it was a way of life. His father, Sverre Sa Hansen, was a respected Norwegian fisherman who instilled in his sons the values of discipline, hard work, and teamwork. Growing up near Seattle's Ballard neighborhood, a hub for Norwegian-American fishermen, Edgar was surrounded by boats, docks, and stories of the sea. His earliest memories involved helping out around the family's fishing vessels, cleaning, organizing tools, and assisting with small repairs. These experiences laid the foundation for a lifelong career on the water. While he attended local schools, much of Edgar's true education came from hands-on experience alongside his father and brothers. As he got older, he began learning the complex technical side of fishing, how to handle machinery, repair engines, and prepare crab pots for the season. Watching his older brother Sig command respect on deck motivated Edgar to follow in his footsteps. Their middle brother Norman shared Edgar's mechanical skill and patience, often working behind the scenes to keep everything running. By his teenage years, Edgar had already spent countless hours at sea, mastering how to navigate rough waters and endure freezing Alaskan conditions. Those early lessons shaped him into a man who could stay calm in chaos and handle whatever the sea threw his way. As Edgar matured, his connection to the ocean deepened. By his late teens, he was working full-time with his father and brothers, learning discipline and precision in an environment where a single mistake could cost lives. Fishing in the Bering Sea demanded respect for every rope, knot, and piece of machinery. Edgar's ability to stay composed under extreme pressure made him stand out. When Sig began taking command of the Northwestern, Edgar naturally became one of his most trusted crew members. Working in some of the harshest conditions on Earth, Edgar learned endurance the hard way, through sleepless nights, freezing temperatures, and hours spent hauling crab pots in icy waters. Over time, Edgar's technical knowledge and calm leadership earned him the roles of chief engineer and deck boss. He wasn't the type to bark orders. Instead, he led by example, working alongside the crew to get the job done. His dependability, quiet humor, and no-nonsense attitude made him one of the most respected men on deck. By his late 20s, Edgar had built a reputation as the man who could fix anything and handle any challenge, no matter how tough. These qualities helped make the Northwestern one of the most successful boats in the fleet, and later one of the stars of the Deadliest Catch series. When Deadliest Catch premiered in 2005, it introduced the Hansen brothers and their family boat to millions of viewers around the world. The show transformed their everyday struggles into must-watch television, and suddenly, Edgar's quiet professionalism reached an international audience. Unlike some reality stars, Edgar didn't perform for the cameras. He simply worked hard, stayed focused, and let his dedication speak for itself. Fans appreciated that authenticity, seeing him as the grounded counterbalance to his brother Sig's fiery personality. His calm humor and measured leadership often brought stability during the show's most chaotic moments, earning him a loyal fan base and widespread respect. The Hansen brothers' bond was at the heart of the Northwestern story. Their father had raised them to value teamwork and loyalty above all else. Sig, the oldest, was the strong-willed captain who pushed the crew to succeed. Norman, the middle brother, was the quiet mechanic who kept the ship's systems alive. Edgar, the youngest, carried a blend of both, Sig's drive and Norman's patience. While the brothers shared deep respect for one another, life at sea wasn't always easy. The long hours, stress, and high-stakes environment often led to clashes. But beneath the tension was an unbreakable brotherhood built on trust and shared experience. Fans of Deadliest Catch often commented on how the Hansens didn't hide their disagreements. They argued, laughed, and worked through their problems like a real family. Even in the heat of conflict, Sig relied heavily on Edgar's judgment, knowing his brother could stay composed under pressure and make level-headed decisions. Their partnership reflected what true family teamwork looks like, messy, emotional, but built on deep mutual understanding. However, the cost of chasing crabs in the Bering Sea was enormous. The job was brutal. Freezing waves, violent storms, and dangerous equipment made every trip a life-or-death gamble. Edgar and his crew endured long hours with little sleep, numb hands, aching backs, and constant exhaustion. The physical toll was matched by emotional strain. Months away from home meant missing birthdays, holidays, and precious time with family. Edgar often spoke about how the sea takes something from every man who dares to work it. The danger, distance, and loneliness became part of who he was. While Deadliest Catch showed the thrill of big catches and heroic rescues, it couldn't fully capture the relentless fatigue and silent fear that came with the job. Behind the fame and television cameras was a man who gave everything to his work and carried the weight of it quietly. Edgar once hinted that no amount of attention or recognition could ever truly make up for what the sea demanded, but it was a price he was willing to pay for a life defined by family, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between brothers. It was always dangerous money, and everyone in the crew knew it. One bad season, one wrong move, and everything they'd built could fall apart in an instant. Over time, that constant pressure began to take a heavy toll on Edgar Hansen. The physical strain from years at sea piled up alongside the mental fatigue that came from living life in such extreme conditions. But like so many fishermen before him, Edgar refused to back down. Stepping away or showing weakness simply wasn't in his nature. He came from a long line of hard-working men who believed in pushing forward no matter the cost. Yet the real price of chasing crabs wasn't just measured in the size of the catch or the money earned. It was counted in years of pain, lost family moments, and silent emotional battles. Those grueling years shaped Edgar into the man he became, but they also slowly wore him down in ways few could see. When Edgar wasn't battling the freezing waves of the Bering Sea, he lived a quiet, family-centered life. He was married to his longtime partner, Louise Hansen, who had stood beside him through the toughest and brightest moments of his career. Unlike Edgar, Louise preferred life away from the spotlight, focusing on their home and raising their 3 children, Stephanie, Logan, and Eric Hansen. Edgar often said his family was the driving force behind everything he did, but the job's demands came with sacrifices. He missed birthdays, holidays, and milestones, all because crab season never waited for anyone. While Deadliest Catch captured the drama and thrill of life at sea, it rarely showed what happened afterward. The exhaustion, the slow readjustment to home life, and the guilt of being gone for so long. Edgar once revealed that the hardest part of his job wasn't the danger or the weather, but being away from the people he loved most. At home, he preferred simple routines, family dinners, fixing things around the house, and staying grounded. Despite his fame, Edgar never saw himself as a celebrity. To his family and close friends, he was simply a husband and father, a man who valued peace and normalcy over recognition. As Deadliest Catch continued airing, fans began noticing something different about Edgar. Once one of the most dependable and hard-working deck bosses on the Northwestern, he started to appear less often. His energy faded. His movements slowed. Longtime viewers could see that he was no longer the same strong, quick-witted man they had watched for over a decade. Crew members noticed it too. He was quieter, less humorous, and seemed constantly fatigued. Years of rough seas, harsh weather, and punishing physical labor had taken a toll. Crab fishing was one of the most demanding jobs in the world, and Edgar had been doing it since he was young. The toll wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. Fans began speculating online, wondering if he was considering leaving the show or dealing with health issues. Behind the scenes, Edgar was struggling with both. His body was worn out, and his family life was strained from years of separation. The balance he once maintained was slipping, and by the time his appearances became rare, many sensed that his time on Deadliest Catch was nearing its end. Then came the scandal that changed everything. In 2018, shocking news broke that Edgar Hansen had been involved in a legal case that forced him out of the public eye. According to court documents, he pleaded guilty to a fourth-degree sexual assault charge involving a minor. The case, handled in Snohomish County, Washington, revealed that Edgar had inappropriately touched a 16-year-old girl in 2017. He received a suspended sentence, meaning he didn't serve jail time, but was required to undergo treatment and pay fines. When the news surfaced, it spread rapidly through media outlets and fan communities. The story stunned viewers who had long seen Edgar as one of the most composed and trustworthy figures on Deadliest Catch. Discovery Channel and the show's producers did not issue an official statement, but his disappearance from later seasons spoke volumes. The scandal shattered his public image and ended his television career. Many fans felt heartbroken and betrayed, struggling to reconcile the man they admired on TV with the man at the center of the controversy. After the court case, Edgar withdrew completely from public life. He avoided interviews, stayed off social media, and focused on rebuilding his personal life. He continued living in Washington State, where the Hansen family maintained their fishing operations. His brother Sig Hansen remained captain of the Northwestern, while Edgar chose a quieter path, occasionally helping with maintenance or other behind-the-scenes work. There were no official updates confirming whether he still went out to sea. Friends described him as keeping to himself, preferring solitude over attention. In many ways, this withdrawal brought him peace. After decades of grueling work under cameras and scrutiny, Edgar finally had a chance to slow down, even if it came under painful circumstances. Those close to him said he focused on repairing family relationships and finding stability again. Discovery Channel, meanwhile, made no mention of him, quietly closing the chapter on his role in the series. His absence became permanent, and the show continued without one of its most recognizable faces. Years passed in silence until, at 64 years old, Edgar Hansen finally broke that silence. In a rare local interview, he addressed his legal troubles and departure from Deadliest Catch. Speaking with calm honesty, he admitted that the events of 2018 had changed everything: his career, his family life, and his sense of self. He accepted full responsibility for his actions and explained that much of the last few years had been about rebuilding trust and learning to live differently. He also clarified that leaving the show wasn't entirely his choice, but part of the legal agreement made at the time. The backlash had been intense, and the judgment from fans and media took a long emotional toll. Now, he said, he lives quietly in Washington, occasionally working in the fishing industry but far from the fame that once defined him. He expressed understanding toward Discovery Channel's decision to let him go, saying he bore no resentment and even called it understandable. He thanked the fans who continued to support him and acknowledged those who were disappointed. His focus now, he said, is peace, family, and living responsibly. When fans heard Edgar speak after more than 6 years, reactions were mixed. Many longtime viewers felt a sense of closure hearing from him again. Some sympathized with his honesty, believing that people make mistakes and that Edgar had faced his consequences. Others felt that his interview didn't go far enough, that it lacked depth, vulnerability, or a direct apology to the victim. Online discussions reflected this divide. Some argued that after years of dangerous, backbreaking work, Edgar deserved a second chance and the opportunity to move on quietly. Others believed his return to television would have undermined the show's integrity and Discovery's responsibility to its audience. Despite differing opinions, one thing was certain. Edgar Hansen's story left an undeniable mark on Deadliest Catch. His legacy was complicated, blending years of loyalty, skill, and humor with a scandal that ended his career. For fans, rewatching old episodes brought back memories of the camaraderie and raw danger that defined the Northwestern crew. Even though his return to public life didn't rewrite history, it reminded viewers that behind every reality TV persona is a real human being, flawed, imperfect, and shaped forever by the choices they make. In many ways, Edgar Hansen's story serves as a cautionary tale about fame, pressure, and the fragility of reputation. What once seemed like an unshakable career built on hard work and dedication came undone almost overnight. For years, he had been one of the most respected figures in the Deadliest Catch fleet, a symbol of resilience, humor, and quiet strength. But when the scandal surfaced, it exposed the reality that even the toughest men of the sea are not immune to personal failings and consequences. What made it more painful for longtime fans was the contrast between the Edgar they thought they knew and the headlines that shattered that image. It became a lesson in how fame can amplify both success and downfall, leaving no space to hide when things go wrong. In the years that followed, Edgar stayed committed to keeping a low profile. Those who knew him personally said he rarely spoke about his television days, preferring to focus on everyday life. He found comfort in simple things, spending time with his wife Louise, staying connected with his children, and occasionally visiting the docks where he had spent most of his working life. Friends described him as a man who carried visible regret, but also quiet acceptance. The years away from the spotlight allowed him to reflect deeply on his past, his choices, and the lessons that came with them. Though he never publicly sought forgiveness beyond his brief statement, it was clear that he had taken steps to rebuild his life privately, away from cameras and controversy. For Deadliest Catch itself, Edgar's absence marked the end of an era. The Northwestern, once known for its powerful duo of Sig and Edgar Hansen, continued under Sig's leadership. Yet, many longtime fans couldn't help but feel something was missing. Edgar's presence had added a unique balance to the crew. His calm demeanor, sharp humor, and deep understanding of the sea had made him an anchor during chaotic moments. Without him, the show moved forward, but the tone changed. New faces joined and new stories emerged, yet the earlier seasons with Edgar remained some of the most memorable in the show's history. Many viewers still revisit those old episodes, reminiscing about a time when the Hansen brothers worked side by side, battling the elements and embodying the grit that made the series famous. In his later interviews and quiet reflections, Edgar often emphasized that life after Deadliest Catch had been about learning humility. He spoke about how his years on the Bering Sea had taught him endurance, but his mistakes taught him perspective. Living away from fame, he said, gave him a chance to rediscover who he was beyond the cameras, not as a deck boss or TV personality, but as a husband, a father, and a man learning from his past. He no longer sought attention or redemption through the public eye. Instead, he found peace in the small, quiet moments that fame once took away from him. Even though his story ended differently than fans had hoped, Edgar Hansen's legacy remains layered and deeply human. He was a man who lived a life defined by extremes, from icy storms and dangerous fishing expeditions to personal storms that changed his world forever. His journey is remembered as both inspiring and tragic, inspiring for his decades of relentless work and contribution to the world of commercial fishing, and tragic for the choices that ultimately cost him his reputation and career. For many, Edgar's story is a reminder that the line between success and downfall can be razor thin, especially under the unforgiving gaze of fame. Behind every fearless fisherman on Deadliest Catch was a person fighting private battles, and Edgar's story revealed just how heavy those unseen struggles could become. Though his time on television ended, his years at sea and his complex legacy continue to echo among fans who watched him rise, stumble, and finally choose a life of quiet reflection. Today, Edgar Hansen lives far from the spotlight that once defined him. He is rarely seen in public, speaks little about his past, and has chosen a path of privacy over publicity. Yet, for those who remember him, his story still carries weight, a reminder of the unpredictable tides of life, where one moment can make you a hero and another can take it all away.